Let's talk about DeepSeek because it is mind-blowing and it is shaking this entire industry to its core.
DeepSeek.
The tech companies in the US and the Western world have literally invested into the idea to just spend as much money as possible to win the AI market. And then the funniest thing happened.
Investors, and I would imagine officials in Washington, are stunned to learn that DeepSeek's AI model has developed technology that can actually be competitive with OpenAI and Google and xAI and all these more established players. It's only been around for a bit, but DeepSeek has already vaulted to the top of the App Store on Apple as the most downloaded app, passing ChatGPT.
A Chinese AI software has literally exposed the PayPal mafia, Silicon Valley, and all the finance bros of America and flipped the entire US market on its head.
It's a huge F-off to a lot of American companies. They created those amazing AI models and then they open source them, which means that they told the world, hey, not only I will tell you exactly how we did this so you can do this again, we're also going to give you the output. We're going to give you the code of these AI models so you can do whatever you want with them. Which basically means that now the value of a lot of OpenAI models has gone down a lot because there's a free alternative that is better. China is innovating like crazy.
And the craziest part, they released it completely for free. And it cost them under $6 million to make. And even crazier, from a Chinese company. With apps like Olama, you can actually download it locally to your computer with no cloud, no internet connection, no Wi-Fi, nothing, totally independent offline. And this, honestly, it feels deliberately planned. Like, it's right after Trump sworn in. It's right after the $500 billion investment from the Trump administration into Project Stargate. China offers a completely open source version of ChatGPT and OpenAI for free. And it only cost them $6 million to make.
Me!
And it seems like the most massive flex on China to America of all time. OpenAI's software can be as expensive as $200 a month currently. After, allegedly violating copyright law and thus allegedly stealing from the entire internet and everything itself to program their own AI. And this has people pointing out that OpenAI effectively was for the betterment of humanity and was going to be an open source AI system to help everyone with this coming AI change, and then stole from the entire internet, closed itself off, turned itself into a private company to make itself richer, and then DeepSeek just stole all of that information and gave it back to everyone for free. The Silicon Valley tech bros are completely losing their mind, trying to convince people that this thing is just way overhyped. Why? Well, because they just lost billion-dollar valuations overnight.
We are in the middle of what might be described as, or what is, a market sell-off. The major averages all sharply lower this morning. Mostly as tech stocks, chip sector, energy, all getting just crushed.
Down more than 140 points right now. The S&P solidly lower, but the real action is over here in the NASDAQ, 600 points lower, nearly 3%, on track for one of its worst days in the past 2 years.
Are you okay?
No.
And they did it as a side project. And I love it. I love that you can literally hear these tech bros just being like, you fucking nerds, I fucking knew you were asking for too much money. God damn it.
It's impossible. Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
And the NVIDIA stocks, the company that makes all the processing chips for the AI computing power, is way, way, way down.
Did you see NVIDIA stock? No, I didn't. Let me look at it. Oh my God. Oh my God. It didn't go down a lot. It went down by 20%. Holy fuck. Oh my God. Did Pelosi pull out?
Now, there's a lot of talk over this whole situation about how they did this and whether or not They have more chips than they're claiming, but they've published all of their information. There's a bunch of charts that show the processing power that it has, how it stacks up to the competition, and how exactly they were able to do this.
We can see in pretty much every single benchmark, it either outperformed or performed just as good as OpenAI's O1 model. So it's about on par with what we're getting out of O1 for code. It's beating O1 in math. In sort of general purpose use, it's about on par with O1. And in this ability to solve GitHub problems, it is leading the pack. OpenAI O1, closed source model, minimum $20 a month to use, trained on thousands of A100s or H100s from NVIDIA. And now we've got this DeepSeek R1 model that was trained on lesser GPUs in way less time that does just as good. And that freaks people out.
I think there's a much more powerful conversation to be had with this, because the issue is we're constantly told that we're the best of the best, man. It's the West, buddy. We're the best of the best. But then, these sorts of things happen and we go and then look where we're not supposed to look, where we shouldn't look, with China, and we see them fucking crushing us. Like, what is happening? And if you look at the people on this team who made this AI, most of them are under 30. They're still in their PhDs from some of the top universities in China, and they have no academic or professional background anywhere overseas. It's all in China. It's all within their own ecosystem of developing their bright and best minds into their tech sector. And this is the thing that we're seeing is their state actually invests in their best and brightest, and to get an education there, and then subsidizing that to be able to promote them to get into the best positions possible in their country to push their country forward in the world stage. And this isn't like some elitist club that we have here where you can only attend university if you're ultra wealthy or you want to be an indentured servant, debt slave for the rest of your fucking life.
Chatting with a new friend in China, and their law schools are $798 per year, which just makes me feel so angry because I have like $450,000 in debt. Extremely fucking bonkers system that we have. This is a slave contract.
This is actually from DeepSeek, and I wanted to do this comparison because I was curious. So I effectively asked it, what's the comparison between an Ivy League education in America and what's a similar style of education in China, and how much does that cost? This is staggering. So for an Ivy League education in STEM in America, costs anywhere between $50,000 to $65,000 a year. So MIT, Harvard, Caltech, things like that. With tuition around $80,000 to $90,000 a year. And they point out here that, yeah, you can get grants and all that kind of stuff, but like, let's be real. Most people, even if it's not Ivy League schools, they're not getting a full free ride into college education or university education, right? Chinese STEM universities, $1,000 to $3,000 a year, with tuition, cost of living, $3,000 to $5,000 a year. That's 20 to 60 times higher in America than it is in China to go to school and be educated and go into some of these jobs that create these companies. And it seems as though the public funding for this, the state, covers about 90% of the university's tuition. Obviously, in America, the cost of living is different in China, and you get a better base salary out of these education systems in the US versus China. I don't know much about Chinese governmental systems and stuff like that, but I know a little bit about the American one. And I think this is the issue about how we're set up financially and how we're getting just clobbered right now in the free market. Because the major issue in the West, really, is that we are not in control of our money supply, right? We have a central bank that we ask if we can print money, and then they loan it to us at an interest and gives us this kind of runaway inflation. And then we invest into things like the real estate market for capital growth. The best way to become a millionaire in America is invest in the real estate market. But effectively, what that does in turn is it disincentivizes more homes being built. Because if you build more homes for cheap and allow young families to be able to afford them and move in, then that would eat into the profits of our beloved baby boomers. And we can't have that.
Please, I am so fucked here if you do this.
And I can hear people saying like, yeah, but in China they have so many more people than us. And it's like, yeah, well, we've literally designed our entire financial industry to disincentivize people from having kids and starting a family. And they also told us it would be a bad thing for climate change. Do you remember that? When we couldn't have kids because of our impact on the world? Now we're having, behind having kids and importing the third world to make up for that. There's this overbearance on the financial industry in America, right? And like capital appreciation at the expense of a real economy. The highest ideal in America, in the West, is to matriculate into some sort of managerial class for finance or insurance or banking. And we're just moving numbers around on screens and nothing of actual value is kind of being made here. Yeah, but our housing prices went up. It's like, yeah, well, the future generation can't afford that house to continue society. So congratulations. And I'd also like you to keep this in mind.
How many wars has China been in the last 40 years? Let me count them. That would be 0. Not one war in 40 years.
Here, we're at war with everyone, which we shouldn't be. We're arguing about the most ridiculous shit in the world. We're arguing about DEI and CTR and gender and reparations and all this stuff. And our brilliant ideas are to have a shadow government that runs ours and ships all of our money off to other places and foreign wars we should never fucking be in. Meanwhile, China can subsidize the university of all their young, best and brightest students, and they're going to make all these breakthroughs, and we're sitting around here with a fucking thumb up our ass. Do you really think that with the $500 billion they just gave to Stargate, the billions we're spending in Ukraine, the billions we're spending in the Middle East, and all the money in Big Pill, that wouldn't cover the cost of our own people going to universities and being subsidized like this? A cheaper, better housing market, incentivizing actual nuclear families in our country?
By the way, there's a separate question, which is, if we think we have a problem with TikTok.
Oh, I thought this instantaneously.
Right. If we think we have a problem with TikTok, do we have a problem with this?
Well, there's an actual other reason why they had to shut it down. But just like this story and the TikTok ban, this is like showing people like, hey, we're not supposed to go over and don't look at China. Don't look over at what those people are like and what they're doing. And then this forces us to, we look over there and we see like, wait a minute.
Now that we've all gotten on Red Note and we can see the lifestyle that all of the Chinese people have, a lot of us Americans are fucking pissed.
What the fuck, America? Oh my God.
We have been fed so much bullshit.
Fucking dude, American exceptionalism is a lie. It's a fucking lie. This country, every day of our lives is just one big goddamn commercial to fucking leech every fucking dime out of our pocket. And then, we start talking about what things cost. And they're like, yeah, dude, I mean, I go out to eat. It costs me, that's like $1.90 for a meal. Like a sit down, $2 you spent?
How is China kicking the shit out of us with this? We look over there with genuine interest, and we see in many ways they're thriving in ways that we aren't. And it's like, what the fuck? Are we not the West? Are we not the ones that are supposed to be the best in the world right now?
The price of going out to eat, the price of groceries.
Their groceries on average are 65 to 70% cheaper than ours. A pound of beef over there is $1.25.
Did you know in China that 95% of their population own their homes? Did you know in China that they have almost completely eradicated homelessness? It is 0.18% if you want to be exact. Did you know in China that there are no credit checks or credit scores?
These are communist countries, and we're the West. How is this happening?
It's not about TikTok. It's the fact that Republicans and Democrats across all legislative branches can expeditiously and unanimously pull together like never before and probably never again to streamline legislation banning a social media app while completely ignoring everything important to us.
I'm not even sure we're a first world country anymore if you compare apples to apples.
I've seen enough. American culture, American society is toxic, gross, poisonous. They poison our food. They jack the prices up of everything. We don't get health care. We don't get good public transportation, even though we're all on the same fucking continent. We destroy the planet for money, power, and control. Our government is funky as fuck on the left and on the right.
This is why this is important to me. I actually really care about the West and the Western world, Anglo-Euro-American culture. And then we see that we're being ruined and embarrassed by places like China like this, who our own people say we're supposed to disavow and not look up to. And then you look online and you see the way our world, the Western world, is going right now. And you just see runaway inflation, supporting wars we have no interest or right to be in, Our countries are essentially beholden to the central banking cartel, and there seems to be nothing objectively better than it was like 50 years ago. You know? Like, we need dual incomes just to survive nowadays, and then send your kids off to school to get indoctrinated into the system. And it's like, yeah, you know what? You can't afford your life, and your groceries are out of control, and buying a house, like, forget about that. Yeah, your kids are being brainwashed by
the message.
But you know what? At least we ain't those commies, goddammit. I'm not for communism, okay? Just disclaimer, this whole China conversation is not me saying that we need communism. I'm just saying that we get all this propaganda from China, from Russia, and maybe those countries are actually putting their people first, you know? China first, Russia first. And can we say that our governments do? Like, look around, look what's happening around the world. Like, does our governments actually have our best interest at heart? And then it's always the conversation, yeah, but they don't have free speech. They can't speak out against the government. And it's like, can we? Honestly, can we? You got Edward Snowden, you got Julian Assange, you got John McAfee, you got all these things. Like, A, can we really? But B, it's like, well, even if they can't, you know, what if their government actually has their best interests in mind and their people at heart in what they do? And like, I'm not saying for sure that they do. I don't know. I'm not a China guy. I don't know everything about it. It's just like, can they afford their lives though? Can we? They can apparently compete with us on AI and fucking kick our ass on that. OpenAI claims to be for all of mankind until they turned to a closed company and went private. And they also have said that they want to rewrite the social contract.
I still expect that there will be some change required to the social contract, given how powerful we expect this technology to be. The whole structure of society itself will, be up for some degree of debate and reconfiguration.
And even Mark Andreessen, who's got a couple connections himself, has weighed in on this.
Billionaire Mark Andreessen, he's a legendary tech investor. He said that DeepSeek is, quote, one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs that he has ever seen.
But he's also said this.
We had meetings in DC in May where we talked to them about this, and the meetings were absolutely horrifying.
What did you hear in those meetings?
AI is a technology basically that the government is going to completely control. This is not going to be a startup thing. They actually said flat out to us, don't do AI startups. Like don't fund AI startups. It's not something that we're going to allow to happen. They're not going to be allowed to exist. There's no point. They basically said AI is going to be a game of 2 or 3 big companies working closely with the government. And we're going to basically wrap them in a, I'm paraphrasing, but we're going to basically wrap them in a government cocoon. We're going to protect them from competition. We're going to control them, and we're going to dictate what they do.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's always been about.
Is there free market capitalism in the AI space, or is it government agencies, at least in America? So China's social credit system seems to be from the government, and so ours is just from like private companies with defense contracts. Like, what's the difference, really? And the most wild thing about this is like, oh, so OpenAI and the free market capitalism that we have here in the West, they gave us this free version, right? They're the ones that gave us this where we could operate it totally, locally, offline, no data tracking, nothing. What country gave us that? Was it China, or was it the free market capitalists in America? Oh no, China did. Interesting, yeah. What I find really cool about this is that this might actually give us a lot better picture of AI and our future with AI that's a lot less doom and gloom than we think, right? Which wouldn't be conglomerated in just a few massive tech oligarchy companies right at the tippy top controlling everything that we do. And this could mean that these smaller companies can offer us very similar services for free, for way less money to develop. And I think that's a pretty cool future. It's a lot less bleak and only thinking this kind of PayPal mafia, tech, Silicon Valley oligarchy is going to control everything. And this is the crazy idea that I hope I'm getting this point across in this video, is that like this whole DeepSeek thing, this whole story that's going on shows that maybe, just maybe, these communist countries like China might actually be able to develop the technologies and AI advancements, and that they might actually be able to give us these technologies and give us more freedoms than our governments do in the West. Crazy. But in China, the state does whatever they want. And Americans, we're fair. We are ethical. We would never do things that are illegal or get rid of anyone in a company that might have damaging information about that company that could harm profits. Would we?
OpenAI whistleblower Suchar Balanji, a 26-year-old researcher, was found dead in his San Francisco apartment.
Anyways, if you want a better breakdown on the $500 billion that we apparently just wasted on OpenAI and Project Stargate, I've got a great video here on that. And if you want a longer breakdown on how all these companies kind of just own each other, they're all tied together and things like that, I've got a great video here on that as well. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, follow for more. We'll see you on the next one.